was the fall of 2022, and I had just moved into an old Georgian manor on the fog-laden outskirts of Salem, Massachusetts, seeking solitude after a grueling year. The house was a bargain, its price lowered due to years of vacancy and whispered rumors of hauntings. Its polished oak floors creaked softly, and the air held a faint musty scent of age. Ivy framed the exterior, and the tall windows bore the patina of time. My first night, unpacking in the spacious foyer, I noticed a narrow door under the grand staircase, black-painted, handleless, sealed shut with rusted nails. It felt out of place, like a secret the house kept hidden. The next morning, frost dusted the manicured garden, where ancient oaks cast long shadows. I explored Salem's historic streets, where locals at a coffee shop spoke vaguely of the manor's strange past, but offered no details. Back home, as dusk settled, a faint scratching came from behind the black doorsoft, like fingernails on wood. I pressed my ear to it. Silence, but the air grew colder, heavier. Days passed in uneasy quiet. I worked remotely in the parlor, surrounded by time-worn wallpaper and portraits with softened edges. The scratching persisted nightly, always at midnight, faint but deliberate. I checked the door. Nails intact, no signs of tampering. Yet, the sound burrowed into my sleep, dreams filled with a yawning darkness beyond the threshold. Curiosity drove me to the attic, a dusty space with aged beams and neatly stored trunks. Among them, a journal from 1843, penned by a former owner, described a forbidden door leading to a cellar that should not be. It spoke of whispers urging entry, of tenants vanishing. I laughed it off as Gothic nonsense, but my pulse quickened. Twilight brought unease. The scratching grew sharper, like claws testing the door's strength. I hammered more nails into it, but the wood felt soft, almost pliant. The house seemed to hum a low vibration syncing with my heartbeat. Sleep fractured. Shadows in the corners pulsed faintly. Isolation warped perception. Phone signals faltered. The internet dropped erratically. At the library, I found records of the manor's past. A fire in 1850, owners fleeing, all mentioning a door that opened itself. The librarian, eyes darting, warned me to leave. Returning, the air smelled of damp stone, strongest near the door. One stormy night, the scratching became knocking 3 slow raps. I froze, gripping a flashlight. The door's edges glowed faintly, a sickly green seeping through cracks. Whispers followed. OPEEN, ... double quotes my breath, fogged indoors. I piled furniture against it, heart hammering. The journal's warnings haunted me. It described a ritual to seal the door salt and iron, but cautioned that opening it invited the tenant beyond. I scattered salt lines, nailed iron horseshoes above. The knocking ceased, but the whispers grew personal. My name, my fears, hissed in the dark. Days blurred into dread. Objects moved. Keys on the wrong hook. Books opened to ominous pages. The odor intensified rotting meat and wet earth. Mirrors reflected fleeting shapes behind me, formless, eyeless. I avoided the foyer, sleeping with lights on. Midnight brought escalation. The door rattled violently, nails popping loose. Whispers roared. "You can't keep me." I grabbed a crowbar, intending to reinforce, but the door pulsed, warm to the touch like flesh. Visions flashed. A cavern below, endless, alive. Desperation drove action. I pried at the door, needing answers. It swung inward with a groan, revealing a stone staircase descending into blackness. Cold air rushed up, carrying moans. I hesitated, flashlight trembling, but whispers urged, "Descend ... The cellar was vast, unnatural walls, slick with moisture, etched with claw marks. A stone altar stood at the center, stained dark, surrounded by bones. The whispers coalesced into a voice. "Stay ... Quotes my flashlight flickered. Shadows lunged from corners, Panic surged. I fled upstairs, but the door slammed shut behind me, locking. Knocking resumed now from inside the house, echoing everywhere. The manor groaned, floors creaking loudly. Mirrors shattered spontaneously, reflecting eyeless faces. The journal's ritual was my last hope. I gathered salt, iron filings, and candles, chanting words from its pages. The air thickened, shadows screamed. The door rattled, splintering, as something clawed upward. Climax erupted at midnight. The door burst open, revealing a form tall, emaciated, eyes like voids, limbs twisting unnaturally. It whispered my sins, pulling me toward the cellar. I hurled iron and salt at it. It shrieked, flesh dissolving into smoke. The house shook and stilled. I stumbled outside, dawn breaking over Salem's fog. The manor stood silent, but I never returned. Authorities found nothing, no cellar, no door. Now in a Boston apartment, I avoid basements. But sometimes at midnight, a faint knock echoes. Months later, unpacking, I found a rusted nail from the door worm pulsing. Dreams replay the cellar's moans. The tenant waits, patient, beyond any door. Salem's history hides truths. Locals whisper of portals sealed, but never gone. My scars frostbite-like from its touch remind me, some doors open inward, always. Therapy calls it trauma. I know better. Friends sense my unease fading away. Alone, I write this warning. Check your doors at midnight. As autumn returns, knocks resume soft, persistent. I fear the door that shouldn't open is everywhere. It was the autumn of 2022 in the misty village of Glenwhisper, tucked in the shadowed glens of rural Scotland. I'd moved from Glasgow's clamour to a stately Georgian manor, aged but well-kept, its stone facade weathered yet sturdy, windows gleaming with a faint, uncanny sheen. The house was livable, with polished oak floors and faded velvet curtains, but carried a lingering melancholy as if it remembered every soul it sheltered. The attic, reached by a spiral iron staircase, was locked, its key cool and heavy in my hand. At night, under a waxing moon, faint footsteps paced above slow, deliberate, in the supposedly empty attic. I blamed old pipes, but a chill prickled my spine. Morning revealed a world cloaked in fog, the manor's gardens wild with untamed roses. I explored, noting the attic's sealed door, its iron frame etched with faint, spiraling patterns that seemed to shift when glanced away. That night, the footsteps returned, 3 paces, pause, 3 more like a ritual. I gripped my tea, staring at the ceiling, where dust seemed to pulse faintly in the lamplight. I laughed it off as creaky boards, but unease lingered. At the village cafe, locals whispered of the manor's past scholar. Ewan lived there a century ago, obsessed with contacting the unseen. His attic was his sanctum, they said, until he vanished. Returning, the air felt charged, like before a storm. Sleep grew elusive. The footsteps shifted, now erratic, skittering like claws. I checked the attic door. It was warm, vibrating faintly. Through a window, the moon's light twisted, casting shadows that writhed like smoke. A faint hum joined the steps, low and dissonant. I avoided the staircase, but curiosity gnawed. In the study, I found Ewan's notes scrawled diagrams of portals, phrases like, "They walk when called." The hum grew to whispers. CE ... I sealed the door with salt, an old superstition, but the sound pierced through. The manor's air thickened, scented with ozone and decay. Footsteps multiplied, a chorus pacing above. Mirrors reflected fleeting shapes, limbs too long, faces blurred. I stayed downstairs, but objects shifted. Books open, chairs turned toward the staircase. At the village archive, I dug deeper. Ewan's experiments invited watchers, entities trapped in the attic's liminal space. His last entry begged forgiveness. That night, the footsteps stomped, shaking rafters. Whispers chanted my name, intimate. The odor grew, rotting leaves, metallic tang. Footsteps circled directly above my bed. I clutched a kitchen knife, heart pounding, as scratches joined slow, deliberate, carving unseen patterns. The chandelier swayed without wind. I called a local historian. She refused to visit, warning of open doors, never closed. The whispers mocked. You opened. I nailed boards across the attic door, but they warped inward, as if pushed from beyond. Isolation suffocated. Footsteps became a cacophony, walls trembling. Whispers formed sentences. Join USSS ... Shadows bled from corners, pooling like ink. I found a hidden attic panel, revealing Ewan's tools, black candles, a cracked mirror. Terror peaked. I ascended the spiral stairs, knife in hand. The attic was a void, air freezing, runes pulsing on walls. Footsteps surrounded, invisible, deafening. A voice roared, "You're ours!" Climax erupted. Shadows coalesced into a multi-limbed entity, eyeless, writhing. It lunged, cold searing my skin. I smashed the cracked mirror. Shards exploded, entity shrieking as it fractured into light. The attic collapsed inward, flames sparking. I stumbled out, fire consuming the attic. Dawn revealed the manor intact below, attic sealed in ash. Villagers, silent, new. I fled to Edinburgh, but the hum lingers in quiet moments. In a city flat, I avoid mirrors. Last night, unpacking, a candle rolled from a box, black, unburned. Footsteps echo in dreams, soft but closing in. The manor's callers wait, listen at night. Their steps may find your silence too. It was the autumn of 2021, in a fog-laden coastal town called Dunwich, perched on England's windswept cliffs. I'd left London's chaos for a quaint Georgian manor. A fixer-upper bought it as steal after a career collapse. The house, though aged, stood solid. Its oak floors creaked, and sea salt clung to the air, but it held a quiet charm. In the foyer hung a grand antique mirror with a gilded frame, its glass faintly clouded, reflecting the chandelier's glow, oddly, as if watching. I ignored it, busy unpacking my new life. The first night, rain battered the cliffs as I warmed the parlor with a fire. Through the hall, the mirror twisted the firelight into strange shapes. I chalked it up to exhaustion and went to bed, but dreams of staring eyes in glass haunted me. Morning brought a fog so dense it pressed against the windows, muffling the world. Exploring Dunwich, I felt its quiet decay. The town's colonial-era shops and homes were weathered but intact, jack-o'-lanterns glowing faintly on porches. At the pub, a local mentioned the manor's pastor recluse vanished there long ago, tied to the seeing glass. Cleaning the mirror later, I found faint scratches on its frame, like claw marks. Its surface stayed cold, even in sunlight. That night, reading in the parlor, I caught my reflection in the mirror, moving slowly, lagging behind me. Blinking, it snapped back. Nerves, I thought, but the air grew heavy, as if someone lingered nearby. Checking the house, all was quiet, yet the mirror's glass seemed clearer, almost luminous. Sleep turned restless. Dreams showed my reflection mouthing words, beckoning. Waking, the mirror was fogged, with small handprints, not mine, etched in the mist. I wiped them away, pulse quickening, but they reappeared by dawn, joined by a low hum from the glass. Isolation tightened its grip. Wi-Fi faltered, calls dropped. Reflections in windows and polished surfaces seemed to mimic the mirror's stare. Polishing cutlery one evening, I saw eyes in a spoon, not mine. I draped cloths over every mirror, but the hum grew, pulsing rhythmically. The local library held clues. In its musty stacks, I found records of the manor's owner, a widow fixated on mirrors, rumored to bind spirits within them. Her journal described the watcher in the glass, thriving on neglect. That night, whispers replaced the hum, murmuring my name softly. The whispers turned cruel, digging up old shamas. I nailed a blanket over the foyer mirror, but at midnight, sharp knocks sounded from within. Peeking under, my reflection grinned unprompted. The blanket fell. The glass pulsed with faint light. Days melted into fear. The voice accused, "You see me." Objects gaze, books shifted near reflective surfaces. My reflection in a window turned when I didn't. I boarded the foyer, sealing the mirror behind planks, but the house resisted, creaking unnaturally. Shadows writhed in corners. The voice demanded, "Free me." In the attic, I found the widow's notes rituals to trap entities in mirrors, undone by shattering them, but risking release. A stench of decay seeped from the foyer, growing stronger. Halloween loomed. Dunwich lit up with pumpkins, their glow taunting my dread. The knocking splintered boards. The mirror's stench choked the air. Through a crack, I saw eyes in my reflection unblinking, not mine. A historian confirmed the widow's summoning, a spirit bound to guard her secrets, enraged by denial. Returning, the boards were down, mirror exposed, its glass rippling like liquid. The voice hissed, "Mine." On Halloween night, the climax hit. Pounding shook the mirror. Cracks spread like veins. Shadows spilled out, forming a gaunt, eyeless figure cloaked in mist. It lunged, its touch freezing my skin. I swung a hammer, shattering the glass. A scream ripped through as the figure dissolved in blinding light. Silence fell, but my skin bore frostbite scars. I fled to a brightened flat, avoiding mirrors. Last week, a small hand mirror appeared in my bag, fogging at night with faint whispers. The watcher waits, patient. Every reflection feels alive. Dunwich's curse clings, and I dread the next mirror's gaze.